It's an exciting time in many schools. The students prepare to showcase their learning at all sorts of fairs. So here to discuss what fair season looks like and how families can really support and help the kids, we have Dr. Ashley Stevens from Cabell County Schools. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Yes, I remember social studies fairs, science fairs, but they even have more fairs for the kids.
There is now a literacy fair, which is one of our favorites, little book nerds over here. So yeah, there are lots of opportunities for kids to show off what they've learned and also acquire some skills along the way. They may think, I'm just telling you about my favorite book, but what we know on the other side of it is that they're working on oral presentation, they're working on answering questions, being able to represent their learning in a physical way. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just, I love this experiment and I want to try it, or this is my favorite book, or this is my favorite thing in history. There's some sneaky learning going on that I'm awfully happy about.
That's the best kind, when they accidentally learn something there.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about what does the process look like for students, because they get all excited and they bring home this paper. There's a fair at their school.
So the paper will have the date that they need to sign up, and that way the school can make, you know, their logistical arrangements for how we're gonna display it. There will also be instructions, not only, you know, can you do it as an individual, what are the topical categories, but also what do you need to present, and that is really important. Having sat on the other side and been a judge of the fairs, they're given a rubric that says, like, did they address, you know, if it's a literature fair, the author and the genre and you know, the author's purpose. And so going through that with a fine-tooth comb will really help in terms of scoring and those kind of things. As parents, we see this big trifold board and we're like, oh my gosh, how are they going to fill it? But the answer is in that initial packet, because it has very specific outlines of the kind of content that we need to be sharing.
And I remember as a parent, I mean, we're excited. We think whatever they did was wonderful.
Absolutely.
But if we don't read all the instructions, they could not place well because maybe they skipped something that was so easy, you know, that they could have done.
Absolutely. So we score on a rubric, and not everybody uses those in their daily life. But in our world, it has, you know, did they do it and to what degree? So it might even have something like, did they have an extra representation in addition to the trifold board? And if you don't know that there's going to be points for that, maybe you wouldn't prioritize that. So definitely go through and make sure that you are checking through that list and that all of those elements are represented.
Let's talk a little bit about the presentation process, because I'm sure with all these fairs, they have to have some kind of a display and then different things on the display. Some families may think, oh, this is too expensive, we shouldn't even bother to do it, and not encourage their child to do it.
I think in the past that may have been a barrier. We have been able to find those trifold boards, you know the ones, you know, those trifold boards at the Dollar Tree, so they're $1.25, which is great news. And so starting with something like that, making sure that you have clearly defined headings so that your judges can find that content that you're going to put on, making sure that the kids, however they represent it, that it's legible. It is tough as parents to not go through and kind of, you know, adjust and correct and that sort of thing. That's not what I'm asking. Just make sure that we can read it, especially for the littler ones, and obviously the expectations grow as our kids do, but make sure that everything is represented. So you're really looking at the trifold, maybe some printer paper, some colored paper to put behind it, and then some writing utensils. So it does not have to be a big financial expense, and if it does feel like a crunch, reach out to the school, because they may have some of those materials laying around.
Thinking, you know, in the art teacher's room or your child's teacher, I bet they're going to help you out.
Absolutely. We want our kids to have this learning experience. Sometimes they even have after hours opportunities to work on the projects, especially if we have school-based teams. You know, maybe the only time that I can work with my partner is after school. Well,
it seems like something as simple as a literature fair or a science fair, the kids can really learn a lot of life skills with this.
Absolutely. So as adults, we're asked to explain what we know, verbally or in a product all the time. We're asked to pitch our good ideas. We're asked to answer questions about something we, you know, are excited about. And this is a way for kids to do it in a very safe environment about a topic that they're very well versed in. And so we're building a chance for them to be super successful at things that can cause some intimidation. Public speaking is not easy for most of us. And so knowing that, you know, I've done this throughout school, and so it's not so scary at an interview, or it's not so worrisome, you know, when I'm pitching a product. That really, those little wins over time really help build confidence for our kids.
Definitely. And just finally, if families want to learn more, is there a resource, or do you just suggest they contact their teacher?
Contact the schools. So once that initial, you know, hey, we have a fair coming out, there should be some very detailed instructions that come with it. We know that not everything gets delivered, however. So if your backpack is empty, or you have secondary kids and they're just not sharing this, reach out to the school. They'll be glad to get you that information as well.
Oh, this is great information. Well, Dr. Stevens, thanks so much for stopping by.
Yes.
Letting all the families know about it.
Absolutely. Best of luck to everybody in all affairs.